Welcome to the Simple Doesn't Mean Easy podcast. We are here every week working at simplifying things in our lives, one day at a time and one step at a time. I'm Michelle Visser, and today's episode is a little different in a couple ways. We are having back on a returning guest. I mentioned when I was talking with her that she had been on previously and I would share the episode number. But her and I both forgot that we actually recorded two episodes previously. They're back to back episodes 108. Let me make sure. Yes, 108 and 109. And the first one was all about the medicinal herb that I truly believe everyone needs in their life in multiple different forms, in multiple different ways. It was all about lavender. And Terry went so deep into lavender. You got to listen. That was episode 108. And then episode 109 was her answering questions from my followers about growing lavender as a lavender farmer. So those are great episodes. But today is different. Today, we're actually not talking lavender. We're talking about your local state and county fairs and why you might want to enter and why you might want to have your kids look into the opportunities, so many opportunities afforded by your local county fair. And Terry gives some great tips and insights into winning blue ribbons and winning best of show. And she knows these things because she has taken away multiple blue ribbons and many best of show ribbons from her local county fair. So it's a fun talk. It's also different because we had no plan about what we were going to talk about. Terry and I have become friends since she first came on the show, like over a year ago. And we have talked a few times since. And when she mentioned that she has all these blue ribbons, I was like, Terry, come back on and let's talk about it. So that's what we did with really no pre planning whatsoever. So I hope you enjoy our conversation today and stick to the very end because there's some really juicy nuggets at the end where we talk about kids and county fairs and all the amazing benefits that I honestly hadn't even thought of until Terry started getting my wheels churning with why this is such a valuable thing for kids to get excited about. And if you possibly want to enter some canned goods into your next county fair, don't even think about doing it until you hear the tips that Terry shares today. So, Terry Vesci, along with all of her county fair awards, is also a beloved author. She has written The Lavender Companion. It's a gorgeous book that goes into such in depth information about the herb and all the many ways you can use it in your kitchen and details about growing it in your garden. It's The Lavender Companion by Terry Vesci. And you can also find her in lots of different locations where she is sharing about her lavender farm. It's called Pine Lavender Farm. So look up Terry and learn all the great stuff about lavender after you join in on today's conversation. But first, I'm going to quickly tell you about a way to actually save a whole lot of money. If you have been considering getting an air purifier, I actually have considered it myself. But it dawned on me the candles that I love to be burning all the time, they are much cheaper than an air purifier. And they don't need anything like changed or filters cleaned. I love these candles. They're made from beeswax, which means they literally not only smell great and are pretty to burn, but they bring toxins. They draw them out of the air and get rid of them. It's like magical in a simple candle. And you're supporting a great small business at the same time. Go check out soulyrested.com/non-toxic, NONTOXIC, for not only these candles, which are the only ones that I ever use now, but also some other products that I absolutely love that are completely non-toxic. Soulyrested.com/non-toxic. So Terry, I'm so glad to have you back again here on the show. Welcome back.
This is like my favorite thing to do is to talk to you, Michelle.
Oh, that's got to be an exaggeration. They're going to think I paid you to say that, Terry.
Not at all, not at all. You are one of the most interesting women I know.
Oh, you say that to all the women, I'm sure, because you're a sweetheart and you're so complimentary. But thank you.
No, I don't.
Well, thank you. Well, you are a ball to talk to. I mean, I don't even know how long ago it was that you came on the show. Would you have a guess? A
Ah,
year, maybe?
maybe 6 months?
Oh, it's only been that long. When did your book come out? Because it was right after that, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It came out in May of, this year? Last year. Last year, you're right,
May
it
of
has
last
been
year.
a
Okay,
year.
so it has been a little over a year since we
Yeah.
talked. Of course, we talked on the phone just a few days ago, but I mean, other than that. um, but us old school ladies, I actually called you up and we actually talked on the phone, which is crazy in today's world, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's so fun.
It is. And you, I can tell, love to talk. I mean, I do too, so we're scary together.
Of course.
So so you are the absolute lavender expert, and I'm gonna ask you in a second to tell folks about, your lavender farm, where you're located, all that good stuff. But when we were talking, we really weren't talking about lavender at all, and we were actually talking about author kind of things because well, tell everybody the name of your book too when you introduce yourself. And then we just started chatting like friends do, and you started telling me about your blue ribbons and your state fair competitions, and I'm like, "Wait, this is a world I don't even know about." Yeah, so
Yay.
anybody watching on YouTube, go ahead, tell everybody what you have there.
So, I just have a couple of things here, and unfortunately, I am not where I have some of my prize winners, but this is just a couple of examples. Um, I wanted to talk to your listeners about canning, which is a passion of mine, and also competitive canning, which is so fun to do, and it can be quite rewarding too.
Hmm, okay, well, now tell everybody who you are, tell us about your lavender farm, sum yourself up for us, for anybody who doesn't know you.
I'd be happy to. So, my name is Terry Vesci, and my husband Rick and I have Pine Creek Canyon Lavender Farm in Pine, Arizona. And we are pretty obsessed about lavender. We have a Bob's Red Mill sponsored lavender cooking and baking school. I believe it's the only one in the world. And we do a lot of um, test kitchen and creative recipe development in our facility. Bob's Red Mill has been just awesome, sponsoring the development of a lot of recipes and ideas with lavender. We have really been so blessed lately. We were just named by the Lonely Planet, one of the biggest travel organizations in the world, as one of the five most beautiful lavender farms in the world. And that just blew us
Wow,
away. I mean, we were
that's
just,
so
I mean,
cool.
the others are in Italy and France, and then here's Pine Creek Lavender Farm. And actually, somebody called us and said, "Congratulations!" And we didn't even know. It was just amazing.
Wow, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's really awesome, and we've been featured this summer quite frequently on Good Morning Talk TV talk shows. We've been in Travel and Leisure magazine, Phoenix magazine, and of course Arizona Highways, which goes all over the world. And we just feel like that small farm, crafted, really homemade stuff is just so missing in our world. And I think a lot of people are going back that direction, like you. And like your tag, simple doesn't mean easy.
Yep.
Growing lavender, harvesting it, drying it, creating products out of it is a simple lifestyle, quote unquote, but it certainly isn't easy. I mean, we are definitely farmers doing what farmers do all the time and really trying to deliver a product that is truly farm to table from a farm you can
Mm.
actually visit.
I love it. I love it. So of those other 4 that were in the top 5, none of them were in the US?
they're they're what?
For the
Sorry.
the lavender farms that were in the top 5 of the most beautiful in the world, were you the only one in the US?
Oh, let's see. I think there was one more in the US.
Mm.
I can't remember where it was though. I think I was just so surprised when I saw the list with us and Italy and France.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, of course. It's so cool. Congratulations on that. You didn't
thank
even
you. I
try
think
for it.
I kind of think it was because of the quaintness, the farm setting, as opposed to just, France. Come on, you go there, Bulgaria, they're just endless, hundreds of acres of beautiful lavender,
Yeah.
just stunning beyond all words. But I think it was the charm of the setting and the old, we're on the National Register of Historic Places. And I
Mm.
think it kind of played into that whole, isn't this charming? Isn't it beautiful? And it's framed by these old, great old pioneer farm buildings and everything too, which are really pretty backdrop for the lavender.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Mhm.
So you had told me when we talked last week about wheat berries. This is getting off topic, not what we were going to talk about, but it was such a fun story. Tell me about the wheat berries that you found in your barn, was it?
Yeah, I would love to. So when we bought this old farm, it had been abandoned for 47 years. And, there's all these old farm outbuildings and everything. And as we started pawing through everything that was left behind, one of the things we found were these big canisters, like 15-gallon, I would say, canisters of red rose wheat berries, and they were all sealed. And we had a friend that is a wheat farmer up in Washington State, and he came over and he said, "Let's open them up." And of course, as we reviewed what were the possibilities of the age of these wheat berries, he figured out that because of that particular mill and everything, that it would had to have been, or farm that canned these, it would have had to have been no earlier than 1947.
No, later, right? Is that
Let's
what you had
see.
told me?
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
the
right. The
most, yeah.
latest they could have
Right.
been put in those cans was 1947. Thank you for that
Right.
correction.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
I remember you telling me that and me being like, "Yeah, Terry, they last for thousands of years," and that blew you
they
away, right?
well, when we opened it, they were fresh as a day. I mean, I could not believe the quality of those wheat berries. And his wife
Mhm.
immediately said, "Let's make some wheat pancakes." And she took them in and, had this
So she did sh
recipe on how to, yeah, grind them up.
so she has a grain mill.
She actually used a Vitamix because we were just making
Okay.
pancakes. So she wasn't going
Okay.
to a full flour.
Yep. Yep.
10 minutes
Well,
on full force of my Vitamix. I thought I was gonna burn my Vitamix up. I think grain mill would be a
yeah.
better way to go.
A gray mill is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
And people struggle so much with using, like, attachments even on their KitchenAid because they make an attachment that's supposed to be a grain mill of some sort, but even that, like, you have to put it through again and again, and you still aren't gonna get the fine flour, and I often tell people, "I know it's an investment, but trust me, it's going to pay for itself in a matter of months, and it's worth it because otherwise you're gonna give up on trying to make fresh flour if you don't have a good grain mill." So, yeah, the Vitamix will work for the pancakes once, though. So, you
Well,
also I meant to tell you, before you get a grain mill, you can use those wheat berries any way you would use rice. Just cook them like rice, and they're pretty much the same kind of idea. You also can flake them, but typically it's good to have a flaker for that as well. So there are some machines needed to really do some good things with wheat berries.
yeah, I've been experimenting a little bit with sprouting them, and
Mm, mhm.
then, using them in making bread with commercial flour. But,
Right.
you are so the queen, the expert on all of this, and I wanna talk to you after we're finished here and get your
Okay.
advice on a grain mill because you have gotten me
Okay.
excited about fresh milled flour and about, really baking and using it and just what a completely different product it really is than a
Mhm.
bag of flour that you buy in the store. So, you've got me excited about it. I can't wait to get
Yeah.
more advice.
Well, I know I'm excited. I've been doing it 6 or 7 years, and I still get excited every time I flip on that grain mill. It just makes me literally happy. It's like dopamine, It's just because you know how good it is for you. Um, but yeah, I actually will put because you mentioned that, I'll put in the show notes, I'm making myself a note, the link to my guide to choosing a grain mill because it
Okay.
is full of details. It's easy for me to tell you this is the one I use the most. I do own 4, which I know is kind of crazy. We've had episodes that I've explained why I have 4 grain mills. But
Wow.
The
Well,
guide to choosing a grain mill is definitely a place to go because everybody has different issues, different things to think about before they make that big plunge. So I'll link that in the show notes and you and I can talk about it later too.
okay, awesome, awesome. Well,
Okay. Uh,
I have like 7 different canners, so I kinda get that.
well, that's a perfect natural segue into what we're supposed to be talking about because you and
Oh,
I are
no, I
bad and
love
we get
this.
off track.
Love it, love
um,
it, love it.
but I tell you what, I don't think I've ever actually told you. My listeners know this. I don't think I've told you. Don't hate me when I tell you, okay? Can we still be friends after I
Yeah,
tell you this?
I
Okay.
promise. I
She's
promise,
on
I
the edge of her
promise.
seat. Oh no, what's she gonna say? I hate canning. I don't
Really?
like it. I do.
Mm.
So that's one reason I really wanted to have you on because I know there are lots of folks that love it, like obviously you do. And it's something I really can't talk much about. I've done it, sure. I've canned tomato sauce, I've canned green beans, I've canned pickles, and I did it for years and years, but I always hated it. I hate that it's in the middle of the summer and I have to heat up the kitchen. I hate that the glass jars break inside the big pots of boiling water. I hate that the tomato sauce takes literally like 20 hours from start to finish. Like there's so many things that I just don't like. So that's okay. It's okay because I found four other ways to preserve food that I absolutely love and I am good with the other four ways and I'm going to stick with them. And once in a while maybe I'll go back and maybe I'll can pickles once in a great while because there's really no other way to get a really good pickle than to can. But so anyway, so I'm glad you're here. Get us excited about canning. And I know nothing. I seriously know nothing about county fairs and participating in all the competitions that they have. I've been to many. They're very fun to go to. I love to go to them, especially if I have my grandkids in tow. But that's all I know. The experience of walking through as a visitor of the fair. So tell us all about everything.
Oh boy,
Why?
a chance to talk nonstop. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I do. I really, really, truly do love canning. At the end of the day, when I've worked and I'm tired as a dog, I really get such a relaxing kind of ending to the day if I have something really fun to can. And
Mm,
I think that canning can become so much drudge work. Like you say, if you've got, 1,000 tomatoes that you've just pulled out of your garden. I mean, and a lot of people do have that, hundreds of tomatoes, or something, and it's hot and it's just get in there and put it in and do
yeah.
another one. But I find that one of the things, and there are a lot of items that I can that are kind of fall into that category. Is that lavender on the cup that you are
Oh,
drinking? Oh my
I'm
gosh.
those of
Are
you
you
who are not on YouTube, I'm sipping my mint tea as Terry is talking, and actually it's wheat, but it does look like lavender, doesn't
it does,
it?
it does. Oh, so
My
that
mug is embossed with this pattern of, just stalks of wheat,
oh my gosh, that's how we're
but
truly tied together. Me with lavender stalks
Yep,
and you with
yep,
the wheat
and my
stalks.
wheat
So
stocks,
much
yep.
alike. So there's a lot of things that, like a can of tomatoes, you can go to Costco and buy it so much cheaper, even if you raise it yourself, because now the price of the lids and some of those things have gotten to be really expensive.
Mhm.
I do tomatoes just because I'm married to an Italian, and so that's one of the things that we do. Um,
Yep, I
I
didn't know
will
Rick was
say
an
that
Italian. That's
that
great.
when I can tomatoes, I do them like the expensive stuff in the store. I do really dead ripe tomatoes. I peel them and I always put in our homegrown basil and make it, just the right consistency for what we're looking for.
Right,
Generally, I don't do the marinara sauces and things like that. I more just can whole tomatoes, tomato puree, and tomato sauce because
okay,
I don't know what I exactly want to do with that jar ahead of time. And
yeah.
so that's what I do. But I do try to really upscale what I'm going to put in a jar. Because if I'm not going to go to the store, and this is important, I think, for people getting into canning or even people that have been canning for a while, if you're not going to go to the store and buy that product, if it is available in the store, and I guess I make the
Sure,
caveat that a lot of stuff that I do, it isn't available in a store, so I
yep.
can it for that reason. But, then don't don't bother canning it and putting on your shelves. If you don't like pickled green beans, don't can them just because you've got a whole bunch of green beans because they'll sit on your shelf for several years. And these darn lids are so expensive.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing that I find is that if your family has specific dietary needs or flavor, you know, profiles that they really love, or um, there's some heirloom recipe that was part of your family. Those are the
Mm.
kind of things that really provide the basis and then the container for what do you want to really can. And a couple of our family favorites are this is something that called cowboy candy. And I learned this from
Mm.
an old farm woman years and years and years ago. And I would never enter this in a fair, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I can just dozens and dozens of jars of this every summer. This is jalapenos. Well, main recipe was jalapenos, onion, sugar, and vinegar. And then
Hmm.
you can, year to year, I might put a few other spices or things in it. And you cook it down until it's really jam like. And oh my gosh, Michelle,
Mm.
is this a great product? You can mix it
Mm.
with mayo and put it on a burger. I can just go on and on of
Wow.
ways you can use this. But we have three boys, all who want to be tougher than the next one and what they can stand in terms of heat. So now I make cowboy candy and I add about half habaneros. And if you know peppers, habaneros are really hot peppers. And
Hmm.
they just love trying to see who can eat the most of it. But it's a fantastic sauce. Can't buy it in a store. And it's a fun thing to can, a very safe item to can, I might add. And I
Hmm.
think before I go any further, everything that I talk about when I talk about canning is follows the guidelines and the rules of the national preservation. And we have so many great resources uh, in this country. Certainly, Ball updates their great canning blue books quite frequently to keep up with the most current technology and particularly the safety technology, but also going online and finding the national preservation. That's a really important website, and to follow all those safe canning technologies. I one time had in class a woman that it was in a canning class, and she said, "Oh, my family's been canning green bean for years, and we never use a pressure canner. Nobody has ever died from it." And I said, "Well, just how do you process those green beans? Because as you know, green beans are a low acid food, and
Hmm.
therefore they're not safe for water bath canning, and you really have to can them in a pressure canner." She said, "Well, we do what my granny always did, and we put them in the water bath canner and we process them for 9 hours." Well, my
Wow.
first thought was, what is that gonna taste like? You know, 9 hours in a canner.
Yeah.
It seems like a very high risk to a very low reward on how
I
to
thought you were gonna say she used a ton of salt maybe, and maybe that helps, but then it wouldn't taste good, and like you said, the 9 hours, it wouldn't taste good. Plus, what about the nutrient loss? You're losing even more nutrients, like, why bother?
why bother?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I hear these kind of colloquial stories a lot when I teach canning, classes. Um, it's really interesting, and by the way, I am credentialed in I guess it would call credentialed by um the University of California does a specialized program, kind of like the Master Garden program, but for master preserving. And I also have a secondary credential from a San Diego city program to teach teachers how to can,
Oh,
and I'm
interesting.
certified through them also. But anyway, the stories that I've heard of what people do and how they put food in a jar and kind of the lack of safety, everything from pulling the jars out of a canner and going through and popping all the lids down, not
Mhm.
knowing how to do that. It's kind of hair raising that more people don't run into trouble with canning. But anyway,
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
can talk about my favorite thing, which is competitive canning.
I want to pause for a second and update you on my Blue Alpine freeze dryer. I've been using it for a few weeks now, and while the initial reasons I went with Blue Alpine all still ring true, it's a small family business I can get behind, and the food gets dried 25 to 50% faster than the competition. But I now have a few more things to add to my list. I have found out that not only do they build their machines from the ground up in Idaho, they actually have a goal of getting every single part manufactured here in the US. I love that. I also quickly realized that I need many trays to prepare my batches and pre freeze different foods. So I love it that I can use my standard sized large cookie trays. No other machines that I researched allow you to do that. I was also so intimidated the first time I went to use the machine. It was 4 o'clock on a weekday, and I decided to just call customer service. They were fantastic. Such a friendly, knowledgeable guy walked me through everything, and he was just great. So, if you are looking to potentially get a freeze dryer, go check out bluealpinefreezedryers.com and be sure to use code solely rested. So, do you find yourself sacrificing quality in the name of non toxic, especially when it comes to personal care items, beauty products, soaps, lotions, all that good stuff? Well, guys, those days are over because I absolutely love everything that I use from hearthandhomesteadstore.com. Go to solelyrested.com/soap, SOAP, if you'd like to see all my personal favorites. These are items I use on repeat that I would not have that I would not have in my home. And these things, every ingredient is all natural. They are truly legit, clean products that do what they promise. They are such high quality. Go to solelyrested.com/soap. That's what I was just gonna pull you back to because that's what I wanna talk about for sure. One thing before we do that, you had mentioned that there are some things you can that you simply can't buy, and I know you had shared with me a few of those, like lavender sugar peaches, that sounds so good, and, lavender lemon pepper dilly beans? I
Yeah.
love it, and
So
like you said, you can't buy these things.
you can't buy these things. So I'm so glad, back to our segues, perfect segues,
Yeah,
uh, peaches. So this year for our little local county fair, and I really encourage readers to find their local county fairs, because that's where you're going to have competition that's not at the kind of professional level.
okay,
And it can be so fun. There might only be, couple of dozen entrants into that, and
okay.
50% of them, I don't know why they would put the jars that I've seen in a
So you're
county fair.
saying you're likely to place in one of the top 3 at your local county fair is what you're saying?
50% of them, yeah, you just wipe it out right
Yep.
away. So you have really good chance at getting those, really fun blue ribbons. And but anyway,
So
peaches
what
this year.
what are the blue ribbons? Is it just a matter of you feel really good of your accomplishment? Is it a matter of you can go on social media and put a picture of your beautiful jars and the ribbons? Like what? I've never quite understood why people are trying to attain the blue ribbons, and that's just me. But
Well, yeah, it's, I mean, like going to horse shows or anything like that. I mean, it's really
okay,
fun to compete
okay.
and see how you stack up against other people in your field. And a lot of county fairs have cash prize. Well, and
I
not
was going to
only
ask you
that, but
that. Okay,
especially, yeah. And at some of the state fairs and things, they can have pretty big cash prizes, especially for best of show. And
okay,
best of show means that of all the possible jars of canned goods, which are divided into sub characterizations like pressure canning and jams and jellies and relishes and of course pickles and a lot of different, depending on again the fair size, they can break those entries down into dozens of sub categories. But the head category is home preservation or home canning. And
okay.
in that category, best of show would mean that you won over all of the other. entries with preserved jars of food of any kind and in any subcategory. So, best of show is a really, really cool thing to win. And yeah, great for social media. It's great to hang the ribbons off your ears, show them to your kids. So,
There you go.
make sure your kids still know that you're, a vital force in the world, that you can bring
I
home a
love it.
blue ribbon from
I
the
love it.
the funny thing is, we have one son who's a Navy SEAL, big tough guy, right?
Oh,
And I got
cool.
him in the kitchen with me a couple of years ago canning, a real red hot relish to put on hot dogs he wanted for his buddies. Go to a party, listen to him kind of over there talking to a whole group of these big tough Navy SEAL guys. I canned this, this is awesome, man. This rocks, and they're so interested in this relish
I love
that
it.
Luke helped make that day. And it's really fun because they love that.
I love that. That's great.
So
That's
back to
great.
peaches. Oh,
Yeah.
so this year I've been trying to think of something that will be eye-catching and something different. And I think we decided to call it um, sweet fire peaches or fiery sweet
Ooh.
peaches, or if your listeners come up with a name, but I need it within the next 10 days. And I have some beautiful peaches this year. And in fairs, if you're competing, jars that look really pleasing, really pretty. So those apricots and peaches and other fruits layered beautifully,
Mm,
overlapping, nice golden, no um, bruise spots, skins taken off, especially there's a number of varieties of peaches when you peel them. They kind of have rosy blushes, different places on,
mm,
and you look for all those little things in
mm,
competitive canning, how pretty they're going to be. So
mm.
this year, I'm going to do some quarts of peaches, and I'm going to take habanero, and I've got some red jalapenos in my garden, and I'm going to cube them up into really perfect little squares because that's what you do in competitive canning. And I'm going to pack those peaches perfectly, and then I'm going to distribute these little squares, or I'm even thinking of triangles if you don't think that would be too
Ooh.
frisky.
Ooh, I like
And put
that.
those little squares of confetti color
I was just gonna
looking.
say, can you even make circles? And then it
I
really does
could.
look like confetti.
I could.
Oh.
I could do that. That would be so pretty. I'll get one of those
Yeah, hole punch.
punches. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that actually is the kind of things that really wind up catching a judge's eye. And that's a great
Yeah.
idea, Michelle. And then I'm going to make a really hot, sweet syrup. Hot meaning spicy. I'll do like a,
Mhm.
a habanero and sugar spicy, and can those peaches. And I think that's could be a winner. Depends on the judge. If a judge opens it and tastes it and burns their tongue off, they'll say. But some fairs, they will never taste the food. Some fairs, especially our little county fair, they tasted home canned good foods up until a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
I have done some judging. There's no chance that I would taste,
Mm,
home canned foods that, I didn't personally know that
right.
the canner behind that knew all of the safe techniques and things like that. But
Gotcha.
um,
Now is there just one judge looking at your jar?
usually
Or are there
there's
multiple?
three.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the fair. I've seen panel from one to panels of five, some big
Okay.
state fairs. And, they're looking for things like the headspace in the jar, which is this space between the top of the product and the bottom of the canning jar lid.
Right.
And different products have rules about what is the appropriate headspace. So, does that jar meet that criteria for that product of what was a proper headspace? And it ranges from about a quarter of an inch to maybe like a full inch in some
Hmm.
pressure can items. And, is the jar sealed properly? And how clean does it look? And when you're you put in the on the card that is attached to the product what the recipe was, what methodology you used, how many pounds pressure or how many minutes you canned it at. And they're looking to make sure that you have followed all of the rules perfectly.
Mhm.
Adjusting for altitude, for example, we're at 5,577 feet in altitude, which means that I canned to a 6,000-foot recommendation for how many minutes I'm going to process something. And
Okay.
also at 13 pounds of pressure in a pressure canner. So you have to know all of those rules and you've got to be able to write it down and write your recipe neatly and succinctly and put it on your jar. But at the end of the day, the judges are people. And is that jar pretty? Does it look appetizing? Um, and is it something that just catches your eye? And I think they're, especially for best of show. I sent you a picture 2 or 3 years ago. I won best of show. I have these Oregon giant green beans. And honest to goodness, they were that long and
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful big green beans.
Mm.
And I was picking one day, and I thought, man, these are too pretty to eat. And I thought, ah. So I did a half-gallon jar, which are, like that big.
Wow,
Uh,
you can do that with the regulations? I thought that you couldn't can in a jar that large.
oh, absolutely. As long as
Okay.
you follow correct canning procedure, and as long as you have a canner big enough to go at least an inch of water over the top of that jar.
Okay. Okay. So what did
So,
you put in with your beans?
yeah, so I did a lavender lemon pepper dilled green bean
Oh.
and packed them in those big tall jars. And I have to say, even myself, they were stunning looking with that
Mm.
bright, bright colors and all that beautiful flavor. And I tucked some of our royal velvet lavender strategically around the outside of the jar. I mean, inside the jar, but on the
Mm.
edge of the jar so
Right.
you could see the lavender showing through. And judges judges thought it was pretty too because they
It
did
was
award me
beautiful.
best.
Yeah, the picture was beautiful. And just this reminds me that I should tell people that if you guys want to know all the different varieties of lavender and so many insights into lavender, when Terry was on the show a little over a year ago, she went into great depth on that. So I'm going to link that episode in the
Oh,
show notes as
well,
well.
thank you.
Yeah. So we have a few more minutes, and I'm curious, what about kids? I know that kids love to enter state fairs. At least I think I've seen, local kids doing that. And can they enter in all the different categories? Is it different for a kid? How does that work?
Oh, yeah, and it's so fun because there are youth generally all fairs have youth categories, and so it'll be
Okay.
a lot of times youth, teens, adults, adult amateur, and sometimes adult professionals in certain categories, especially artwork and stuff. But kids, it's such a great thing. Get them started with jams and jellies and, some of the easier things to can and so rewarding.
Yeah.
My fair does uh, give a cash prize. We usually donate it back to the fair, and I think it's like $5 for a blue ribbon, and I think 10 or 15 for best of show. But for kids, I think it builds self esteem. It provides a skill. It's an important survival skill. It's an important cooking skill, and all of those things about sanitation and the management and handling of foods and how to follow directions and how to prepare something and make it pretty and shine the jar, taking it into the fair, going through the process of, the people that are checking it in saying, oh, this is so cute, honey. And they go up on display, and you can then go with your family and your friends and say, oh, that's my item up there on that podium. And it's just really rewarding to go back to the fair because generally you deliver all of your canned goods before the fair opens, even.
Okay.
But so you go and you deliver it, but then you go back when the fair is open and walk in through all the pavilions and you see something that you've done in there. And kids just squeal with delight at seeing
Mm.
that.
Oh, that's so cool. You know, Terry, I love the way you described all of that. It like made a lot of light bulbs go off for me because we didn't live rurally at all when my kids were young. We did have a county fair, but it wasn't something we went to often because it was far from us. And it's just nothing I really ever thought of back then. But just the way you describe that, I'm realizing how similar it is to things that I did do with my kids that it made them have to be uncomfortable sometimes, right? To put
Yeah.
themselves out there. It
Yeah.
made them speak to adults. So when they're
Yeah.
signing in their vegetables, or their whatever their project is, they're speaking to adults. It made them fill out forms and be neat with things and neat with their writing. And like you said, follow directions. I mean, all these things are things that I made my kids do. You know, you push them out there onto almost the precipice where they're afraid maybe they're going to fall. But then they learn, no, I didn't fall. I jumped in and it was great. Right. Um, so I
You know,
really like the way.
future farmers organizations and 4-H are also great resources for kids, in rural communities, but
Oh, for sure.
in any community, you can
Yeah.
jump in a fair, state fair, local fair. Um,
I love that. And I always had, because I am a writer and always have been, my children, like it wasn't something that they loved doing. And I learned really early on that if they didn't have an audience that they were thinking about and preparing for and writing to, then they weren't going to enjoy writing and they weren't going to do a good job. But if they had that audience, it made the world of difference. And I feel like that's so similar to what you just described about county fairs. It's going to totally make the world of difference for a kid.
that is the perfect way to frame that. When there's
Mm,
an audience for what you're doing, you really kind of step up your game, and it does make it really fun to play to an audience. Yeah,
for sure.
perfectly said.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for all this inspiration and all the tips you've given us. I think that you've probably inspired a lot of listeners.
And don't forget, listeners, if you come up with a cool, catchy name for those hot, spicy peaches, I want to know. Thank
Yeah,
you, Michelle.
definitely.
I
Thanks.
love spending time with you, and I
Same.
just can't wait for the next time.
Yeah, we're going to do it again, I'm sure. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
So thanks for listening, friends. I hope that that encouraged you. And if you go and enter a county fair next year, please let me know and send me some pictures because I find this all fascinating. Like I said, I really have never even dipped my toe in the water of this whole topic, but I find it fascinating. So I hope that you enjoyed that episode. Go back, as I said in the beginning, listen to episode 108 and 109 for lots more insights that Terry gives into lavender. And I think that's it for today, guys. Remember, it is easy to forget how blessed we are to live this life. So enjoy the simple, everyday efforts. They might be difficult, they might be super hard, and they might be exhausting, but it is a very good life.